G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. Finals footy is here. We're going to be going over my tips for the first week of finals of this 2025 AFL Finals Series. Make sure you like and subscribe if you do go on to enjoy, and let's get into it. Before we start, as always, we like to go over the previous round of tipping. So from round 24, I got myself a 9 out of 10, so this is obviously 10 games, with the extended game being the one on Wednesday night. Definitely take a 9 out of 10 to finish off the home and away season. Went the Blues over the Dons, the Pies over the Ds. Survived a bit of a scare, but they were able to have one of those classic Collingwood style of wins coming from behind and winning a close one after dropping a few close ones. Port Adelaide, I did have that feeling they'd get up for Kenny, and that's exactly what we saw. What a ruthless performance it was. Just a pure upset, to be honest, strung together by some sample plays. Good way for Port to finish off their year. Adelaide over North, and yeah, a bit of a high-scoring shootout this one was. The 𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐷s over the Tigers, the Swans over the Eagles. GWS over 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐎𝐥𝐿𝐷, nice hit-out this was. I did feel the Saints would keep the Giants honest, and Fremantle was big on them. I just couldn't see their season ending at the end of last week. I really felt if they get their dare going from the back half, they could really outdo the Dogs, and that's exactly what we saw. That second quarter, probably the best football they've played all season long. Brisbane over Hawthorn, and like I said in the tipping video, Hawks would push it up to them, but Brisbane just would have to call it in. That's exactly what we did witness. And the Suns, geez, I thought this game might be a bit closer, but almost a 100-point belting. Gold Coast making finals for the first time. Now let's have a look at my tipping competition leaderboard update. So I'm pretty sure it does carry over into finals, so make sure to get your tips in. There were a number of people that got themselves a 10 out of 10, so I want to give a shout out to those people. We've got Pasindu, and then we've got Up the Lines, 𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐷, Stupid Sexy Flanders, what a name, good Simpsons reference, 𝐵𝐴𝐿𝐷 Bangers, and I've got to go to the next page, given this website cannot sort through things that well. Andy G, Flag Medal 25, Yusuf 2049, Betty Campbell, and 𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐷 25. Well done to all you lot who got themselves a full 10 out of 10. And as for who's led in my competition, it still is 𝐵𝐴𝐿𝐷, just leading narrowly by 1 with a total score of 188. So everyone, let's now begin with the tips for the first week of finals. Really keen for this finals series. It's been such a logjam all year long with the top 8 and 8 real deserving teams that if they can bring their best football, they could really win it. I do feel bullish. Maybe one of these elimination finalists could push all the way to a grand final. Quickly, I did do my finals predictions bracket on Friday. I recorded that on Friday night, but yeah, maybe my mind's changed. I may or may not have changed a few tips in the first week of finals. We will see, but let's begin Thursday night. Adelaide taking on the Pies at the Adelaide Oval. Been plenty of talk and build up to this game. Personnel issues, well, both sides are having a wee bit. When you look Collingwood, there's not going to be Jeremy Howe, and they have been ruined the absences of Bobby Hill, but I did hear early today Beau McCreary, will come into this game really big for their front half pressure when he's in there. 𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐷 also potentially one that might not get up, so maybe do they throw in Mason Cox for a bit of aerial ability up forward. As for Adelaide, been plenty of talk regarding 𝐼𝐴𝐷 ranking. How can they go? And Josh Rochelle won't get up for this game either, so a few important small forwards will be out for this game, and Rankin's also one that can punch through the midfield and win some pretty important clearance and contested ball too. It's going to be a big game for Ben Keys. He had probably one of his better games of the season against North Melbourne in their last head-out, so he'll be important for them. Max Michelani will come back into the side, a really reliable defender for them, and that's where they've been so good across the span of progressively all season long. The Crows, they've continued to build a real strong back six, one of the best defensive profiles in the competition, and they are one of the best turnover teams in the league as well. Collingwood up there too, but Adelaide, I'm pretty sure, are number 1 for attack and defence. Home field advantage as well, so Adelaide definitely do have the advantage here. And Collingwood's form the last 6 weeks has dropped off. People saying could they go out in straight sets, but as I said in my finals bracket prediction video, I just can't see Collingwood turn up flat here. They are the ultimate finalists. They play well come finals football. No doubt their energy is going to be up, and they're a team that relies heavily off pressure. I mean, both these teams' pressure ratings across the span of year have been definitely up there. Can't get smashed in the midfield though, the Pies. A few lethargic performances late in the year has definitely hurt them in that area of not winning enough contested ball. When looking at Adelaide, that forward line, even with the absence of Rankin and also Rochelle, aerially, it could wreak a bit of havoc for that defence. Darcy Moore's been exposed a little bit throughout stages of this second half of the season especially, and no Jeremy Howe's just a big out for them. I know he didn't play in the game against the Crows, but Adelaide was still able to win off limited entries. So if the Tors get off the leash for the Crows, that could potentially potentially be the factor between a win or loss. So who to go with here? Do you go with the side that plays in Adelaide pretty well and a bit more of that finals, or let's be honest, vastly more finals experience of Collingwood, where this is a game I do believe will come down to moments? And who do you back in more? The Pies have always been good in these close moments. I just picture in my head plays like Pendlebury, Crisp, Sidebottom, knowing exactly what to do in the late stages of a game to potentially hit the lead or hold on to the lead. I did tip Collingwood in my finals bracket prediction, and I've just been flip-flopping between this one because it really could go either way. It's a total coin flip this, but I'm going to swing my tip towards the Crows here just because I feel no Jeremy Howe is a big out for them, and definitely Adelaide I could see kicking a winning score off limited entries, as well as I'm sort of leaning towards the home field advantage for him. There's going to be terrific spirits, and the atmosphere I feel could really get them across the line. Adelaide have also been a pretty well drilled and mentally sharp side as well. They've coughed up some leads early on. They've been able to get back into games, and they've finished off games a lot well this season, unlike the previous few years. And there's going to be some fire in the bellies, being that almost team the past few seasons. So I'm going to go the Crows in this one. Both teams have their weapons, but backing in the Crows a little bit more with their firepower they do have in the front half, and defensively they look solid as a rocks. I'm going Adelaide by 4 points. This really could go either way, just hoping for a cracking contest. Then Friday night we do have the Cats taking on the Brisbane Lions, second qualifying final at the MCG. Cats, Brisbane, they've been up there for the majority of the season. Looking at the Cats, there has been a bit of talk about Geelong regarding their soft fixture to finish off the year. I think we do have to mention it somewhat. Their last losses did come against top 8 sides, that being GWS and Brisbane, and the remaining wins being against the bottom 10. But I'm not really feeling it's necessarily a huge factor heading into this final. The Cats, we all expect them to be sharpened up come September, and they have started off final series fairly well the last few seasons. Look at last year, they put Adelaide by 70 odd points. Then when we look at Brisbane, arguably have had their best home and away season in quite some time. We all look at Brisbane as a top 4 quality side, but they've always had some blips on the radar here and there, and they've had that across the span of this year. But when you consider the personnel problems they've had, even the start of the year with the hurricane dramas, yeah, they've had a real resilient year, and they've looked the more confident out of any team in the competition, to be honest, when playing interstate. Backs against the wall, they've bounced back really well this season, countless times, Pies at the G, also recently with Fremantle and Perth. They bat really deep, especially in the midfield Brisbane, and this is an area where I could really see them go all the way. They do have some personnel problems on other lines like Ainsworth and Jack Payne, but it's the midfield that could really carry them to a premiership. The Cats' outside game, arguably the best in the competition. They're the most efficient side going inside 50, so more often than not, they are the best team on being able to convert those inside 50s into scores. And it's the small forwards. It's always the small forwards come finals time, usually. And look what happened last year in that qualifying final. Players like Stengel and Brad Close and Myers really got off the chain. And they're going to be real pivotal in this matchup because Brisbane have struggled with sides being able to slingshot the ball and catch them out the back, like against the Giants at home and also the Swans at home. So if those small forwards can wreak some havoc for those Brisbane defenders, that could potentially be a winning area for this game for the Cats. Just like the other qualifying final, this is a really difficult one to tip here. The Cats' home field advantage, we are aware, but Brisbane have been pretty much the best team interstate, I'd say, out of any side in the competition. They honestly have played better footy away from home than they have at home this season. The Cats, no doubt, will definitely want to get some speed on their ball movement and has caught out a lot of opponents this season. And whilst I can definitely see them kicking a winning score, perhaps off limited entries, given Brisbane have been a pretty inaccurate side and a bit of a wasteful side throughout this season, I still feel pretty bullish on the Lions given their record away from home. They've looked as confident as any team in the competition interstate, as I've said. They've got terrific depth in the midfield also with Neil and 𝘿𝐵𝗪 to come back in. And finals footy is different gravy. The contested game becomes more important than ever. And I have a bit more trust in Brisbane to win that inside game against the Catters especially. So I think this one will be an absolute ripper, but I'm leaning towards Brisbane here and they'll advance to a home prelim. And we'll go Brisbane in a close one here by 8 points. For the Saturday games now, we've got 2 elimination finals here. First one up, the Giants taking on Hawthorn, 3:15 p.m. at NG Stadium. The Giants 5th, the Hawks 8th, and it feels a bit strange because throughout this season, Hawthorn have looked better than an 8th place side, but that's just how the ladder is. It's been such a log jam, and Hawthorn did miss their opportunity to make top 4, dropping that game against Brisbane 2 weeks ago by only 10 points, and that's just where Hawthorn's been at all year long, really. They have played some good football against some good sides, but it just be coming down to factors like probably missing that elite midfielder or lacking a bit of cutting edge going inside 50, and these better sides have been able to put them away in key moments of games. So really, Hawthorn's seasons, I feel, has sort of fallen perfectly into expectation. I expected them to make finals, but just against some of those top-ranked sides, they just haven't been able to match their level and find a way to kick a winning score. But not writing off here whatsoever, because team defence-wise, they've looked really solid, especially this back half of the year. Josh Battle recently announced as an All-Australian, been great one-on-one. Barras has been key for them, and 𝐼𝐶𝐿𝐼, he's been able to turn around his season in the back half of the year too. And their ball movement is some of the best in the competition when they really get going too, Hawthorn. So yeah, they'll definitely come up to Sydney and have a crack here and potentially win against the Giants. But GWS, a bit more of that finals experience side, I do feel. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one because they've played some really good football against great sides this year, but their finals records the last 2 years hasn't been that great, but they've played well enough to win. That bring the loss to the Pies in the prelim final on their straight sex exit, where they were comfortably winning in both those games last year. But the Giants, they've had a good back half of the year, and they've had a lot of wins this season. We haven't really expected them to win, especially Brisbane away and Gold Coast away. How they can move the ball from the back half is some of the best in the competition when they're up and going. Ash and Whitfield have been key to their rebound this season. Buckley's going to come back into this game, which is really important for their back six. Buckley, 𝐼𝐻𝐪𝙩 have been kings in the air intercept-wise. And 𝐓𝐶𝐞 𝐎𝐥𝐝 leading the competition clearly, #1 in handball receives. He just buzzes up and down the ground. It's going to be really key to their transition game as well. And both teams as well have a real dangerous front half, especially the small forwards, Toby Green, Bedford, Darcy Jones, and even the Hawks with Dylan Moore, who's been able to push up into the midfield a little bit and accumulate. Nick Watson and even 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 can really find the football and use it nicely. So both teams have been great to watch across the span of this season. Who am I going to be tipping in this game though? Just got a bit more confidence in the Giants from a tipping perspective here. Hawthorn have been gallant in defeat against some top sides this season, but their interstate record, they haven't won in Sydney for example, and their record against the top 8 is some of the worst in the league when you compare the different top 8 sides. So yeah, I'm leaning towards the Giants in this one, home field advantage as well. Being questions also on Hawthorn's midfield, especially with the absence of Will Day. Is their barometer for them. When he's in there, they usually win. The midfield is an area I can definitely see the Giants winning, especially if Callaghan gets off the chain. And if the game does come down to moments, you think someone like a Jake Stringer or a Toby Green can really carry his team across the line, whilst Hawthorn haven't been able to execute and have the composure to put away good sides. So GWS, I'm going to be tipping here. Should be a cracking contest, but the Giants to beat out the Hawks here will go GWS by 2 goals. And the final game of week 1, we have the second elimination final, Fremantle taking on Gold Coast at Optus Stadium. It's good to see Gold Coast finally make finals, well, each their own to be honest, but for football, I feel like it's good to see finally getting that monkey off the back, and we can now have a bit more trust in Gold Coast in terms of can they make finals in the next few seasons. But it's going to be a big test here. Certainly within the four walls of the footy club, they're not thinking, we're happy just to make finals. They're thinking, let's see if we can win this game and continue our potential premiership push. But from a neutral point of view, it's hard to see Gold Coast head over to Perth. I think we're all feeling this really. What do we expect from the Suns in their very first finals game? It's going to be exciting, but geez, could they get belted? Their midfield has been fantastic basically all season long. Matt Rowell, Noah Anderson, hype them the coaches' votes. They made the All-Australian, and their contested stuff, when they do win the contested ball, they usually get the game in their terms, and they're able to really lock it well in the front half. And as we know with Fremantle, when you put them under the pump and don't allow them to move the ball freely and take the game on through the corridor, they can struggle and become a bit timid with their ball movement. So I think the onus is someone on the Suns to maybe try and smack Fremantle around the football. We all know Freya's midfield can be a bit small at times, and bring some elite front half pressure to try and lock it in, get some repeated entries, forward half turnovers, all that good stuff, and potentially put Fremantle onto the pump, because the expectations are pretty high on Fremantle to really win this game. Speaking of the Dockers, a deserved finals berth they have made, and their record against the top 8's pretty underrated. I think it is top 3 out of the top 8, being able to knock off a handful of top 8 sides across the span of this season. And a real inspiring performance it was, a spirited performance against the Dogs, where they just went all guns blazing, run and gun through the back half, totally outdid the Dogs in their transition and won convincingly in the end, let's be real. And this is where you also got to give Fremantle their flowers. Their second halves this season have been fantastic. It's been key reasons on why they've been able to win games and go on that winning streak they did have. From a four-quarter perspective, still probably need to get a bit better. They have periods where their midfield goes to sleep here and there and get outdone in the clearance game, and that's an area where Gold Coast can definitely exploit them. But Freo have been able to really rally around and get a bit of a response in the midfield. They've been a much better side compared to last year, going inside 15. Geez, they've got some threats. It's not just Trace, but Paddy Voss, as I've been hearing from so many pundits. I hate this word, but I'm going to have to say it. Could he be a finals wildcard? Ugh, I said it, but he definitely could be. He's been huge this season for them. So yeah, if this game does turn into a bit of a scrap and it's really up for grabs, I probably have a bit more confidence in Fremantle finding a way to win. Given what I did say, their second halves have been very good this year. Home field advantage as well. The Suns, just too many question marks for me. I think that could maybe make this a game. So I'm going to be tipping the Dockers in this one. Gold Coast definitely could try and win that midfield area, I can see, but Fremantle, from what they can do on the outside and get some quick ball movement from the back half, take the game on, could potentially outdo the Suns. Sort of like what the Giants were able to do to Gold Coast a few weeks ago. So yeah, Freo going to be tipping here. They'll move to a semi-final and we'll tip them here. Maybe a close game early on, but Freo really flex their muscles, run away with this one and win by 22 points. So overall, there are my week 1 finals tips for this AFL 2025 finals series. Let me know your tips down below. Love to hear your people's opinions. And yeah, geez, really hard games to predict here. Just hoping for cracking contests and some close games. Stay tuned on the channel as well, lads. We'll be streaming a few of these final series games, so really keen for that. And that's it from me, everybody. I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.